All right, Kelly's over 1.5 is pretty well performed. A little bit head down on the takeoff. Let's see what our judges think about it. They kept that in the good category. Pretty much 7s across the board.
And Laura Ryan's next. She's going to be doing back 1.5 pike.
Lauren set that up really nice. Came out a little bit early. Dropped her head on the entry. Ended up a little bit short there. Judges show 5.5s across the board.
And Marin Taylor from Texas going to be doing the same dive, back 1.5 pike.
It was a much better performed dive. Armstrong just a little bit early, cut off some of the height there, but that dive went in the water really nice. Judges' scores go as high as 9 on that dive, average about 7.5, 8.
Krista Cabot from Kentucky is going to be doing back 1.5, 1 1/2 twists.
Really nice dive there. She comes around, brings her hips up. She kind of ducked her head under, left that dive just slightly short. Judges like that in the 7.5 to 8 range.
And Danielle Secco from University of Connecticut is going to be doing back 1.5 pike.
Okay, that one's off the board just a little bit backwards. Left that lined up a little bit short. She's going to find 6.5s and 6s from the judges.
Our 7th diver, Tori Lamp, will be doing front 2.5 somersaults tuck position. Tori's from Tennessee.
Dives pretty well. She had a nice come out, nice streamline entry, left very little splash. This one is done in the tuck position. A lot of girls will be doing this in pike. And she's going to average about 7s from the judges.
Next diver up, number 8, Haley Casper from Arizona State. She's going to be starting with inward 1.5 somersaults pike.
Like the form on this dive, it just pushed back just a little bit as she ducked her head on the takeoff. She keeps her head up a little bit higher. We'll get a little more height. That dive's going to go 7.5s from our judging panel.
And diver number 9, Hannah Prigg from Fresno State. She's going to be starting with back 1.5 somersault pike.
Let's this dive wash over just a little bit. It's out a little farther than some of the other ones we've seen so far this morning. Judge is going to award that in the 5 range.
And we have a Big Ten diver right here, Maggie Kiefer, University of Minnesota, starting off with inward 1.5 somersaults pike.
Okay, she did a good job saving this dive as it went into the water. It was a little bit back, started out to go just a little bit over, but she, like I said, a nice underwater save. It's going to award her with 6.5s to 7.5s.
And diver number 11, Sarah McCready, her teammate from University of Minnesota, is going to be doing back 1.5 somersault pike. Just a reminder, the top 8 qualify for finals tonight, so every dive's important.
This dive set up pretty well, a little bit flat on the feet on takeoff. As she pulled and loosened her back, that did take it over a little bit in the entry. Judges are going to see that and averages about 5.5 on that dive.
And diver number 12, Shelby Cullinan from Texas, back 1.5 somersault pike.
Notice a lot of the divers are doing back starting approaches. It makes it a lot easier on the nerves on a big meet like this. That dive took off very nice. Went up high, great, beautiful pike. A little loose on the out. Left her legs just slightly below vertical. little delay here on the judges' scores, technical difficulty.
And Kelly Hendricks from the MAC from Eastern Michigan University doing front 2.5 somersault pike.
She noticed that dive kind of followed the camera out, went a little bit over, ducked the head on takeoff. If she keeps that head up a little bit higher, a little bit longer, waits on the board, that'd be a nice dive. She's going to end up in the 5.5, 6 range there.
And diver number 14, Amy Kozad, doing inward 1.5 somersault pike. Amy's from Indianapolis, Indiana.
She's competed many times in this pool. Nice tight pike, real nice toe point. Dives slightly out from our angle, but it went in nice and clean. Judges are awarding her in the 6 range.
And diver number 15, Rachel Mama from NC State, also starting with inward 1.5 somersault pike.
Really like how that one started out up over the top of the board. Good position, pretty good entry. From this angle, a little more toe point would be nice.
And Samantha Pickens, diver number 16. She was a finalist last year from University of Arizona, doing back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist.
Rachel's inward 1.5 also averaged about 6.5, 7 on the last dive. Samantha might have initiated that twist just a little bit early. She gets her arms up a little higher. That won't travel backwards quite so far, but that's a very well executed dive. Judges award 6.5 and 7s.
Diver number 17, Danielle Hulvey, also from Eastern Michigan University. They have 2 divers here. She's doing back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist. Same dive as Samantha.
Now the entry in that one was a little bit heavier than Samantha's, but you notice her arms did get up a little bit quicker. Very well executed dive, a little bit heavy on the entry. It's going to go 6.5 and 6s. 47.5 on the total points.
Diver number 18, Cassie Wheel from LSU, 105C. That's a front 2.5 somersault tuck.
All right, she executed that fairly well. A little bit over the toes on the takeoff. Let it travel out. Kind of rolled in. She's going to get judges' scores in 5.5 to 6.5 range.
Next diver number 19, Morgan Weller from Arizona State, doing air 1.5 somersault pike. Morgan actually won this event at Pac-12s a couple weeks ago.
Nice dive on the inward 1.5, a little bit back off the board from this angle. It's a little tough to see from where we're sitting.
It looks like there's some technical difficulties with the scoreboard, so we'll have a little delay here. Kevin, how important is this first round in a championship meet?
Yeah, the first round is as important as all of them, but it is a time when the divers probably have the most adrenaline going on. The ones that can deal with this first round the best are usually the ones that end up in the top 16 towards the end of the event. Looks like that previous dive we scored a total of 43.2, or now they just switched it to 44.4, so there must have been a judge's score that needed to be changed there.
Now Logan Klein's waiting for the announcer. Should be doing back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twists. Logan's from Virginia Tech.
All right, we're back to live diving again. Logan's back 1.5 with 1.5 twist. Nicely set up dive. get the hands together and stretch a little bit more on the entry, you're going to find the judges award you just a little bit more than what you're getting. She averages 6 on that dive.
Next diver number 21, Emma Ivory Ganja from UCLA, doing front 1 1/2 somersaults, 1 twist free.
Emma looked from this angle to have over-twisted that dive just a little bit. Some of the judges appear to have seen it. She's going 5.5, 4.5 with 6.5 the high score.
We got the Fighting Irish up next. Jennifer Chang from University of Notre Dame doing inward 1/2 somersaults pike.
Nice body lines on that dive. It went into the water fairly clean, slightly over from this perspective. You'll see that judges saw that pretty well as a 6.5 to a 7 on that dive. It's probably one of the better inward 1.5s we've seen today so far.
And diver number 23, Kaylee Arnett from Virginia Tech, inward 1.5 somersaults pike.
And then Kaylee comes right back with the same dive, jumps a little bit higher, goes in a little bit cleaner. I think we'll see a few higher scores on this one. And we do with the judges' scores of 7.5 and 8 predominantly.
Next diver up, Rebecca St. Germain. She's an SEC diver from Texas A&M, doing inward 1.5 somersaults pike.
Again, very well executed, nice height over the board. Line that dive up really well. I think we're going to see the judges award that pretty well in the 7.5 and 8 range again.
Diver number 25, Haley Ishmato from USC. Her sister actually won this event last year. She's doing back 1 1/2 somersaults pike.
Haley also represented the United States at the 2008 Olympic Championships. Well-controlled dive, slightly out. As she pulled back on her shoulders, loosened her back. It went a little bit over, but I think she's going to like the results of that dive. She's going to keep 6.5s, it looks like, on the dive.
And Figgy Figueroa, 105B, which is a 2 1/2 somersaults pike. She's from Missouri. Kevin, we have 6 conference champions in 1 meter in this event today.
It's going to come down to who can execute the best. Most definitely. See, this dive goes up really high. She's got a lot of power off of the board, lines it up. Figgy's been a power in the springboard for quite some time. She's got judges high of 8s, average 7.5s.
And from University of Tennessee, Jody McCrory doing back 1 1/2 somersaults pike.
Pretty well executed dive. Heads up a little bit on the takeoff. It lets it travel out a little bit more than she probably would have liked. Good job getting into the water. She's going to keep 6.5 and 6s on that dive.
And it looks like Ann Perry Blanks, inward 1 1/2 somersault pike. She's a Georgia Bulldog.
Dive spun around pretty well. She got in a little bit of a hurry on the takeoff. Dive didn't go up quite as high as we've seen in previous inward 1.5 pikes. She's going to average, looks like she's going to keep 5.5s and 6s on that.
Next diver, 29, Kate Hillman, right here in Indiana. She's a graduate of a high school pretty close to Indianapolis, and she dives at IU, and she's doing inward 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Dive set up very nice for her. It's been one of her better dives throughout her career. She's gotten the water really clean. Keep the head up a little bit longer as she's looking for the water. She dove at Shenandoah High School. Her swim team was all of 2 people, and they did not have a pool.
And you coached her.
I did. We have 7.5s and 8 across the board there.
Next diver from University of Hawaii, Amy Harrison, inward 1 1/2 somersaults pike.
See, this dive got a little bit away from her. She pushed back off the board, got her head down, traveled out further than what she would have liked to be able to receive the top scores. She goes 4.5. She's going to keep 5.5s on that dive.
Our next diver is from Rutgers, Nicole Scott, doing forward 1.5 somersault, 1 twist.
She got into that twist a little bit early. She probably needs to stand up a little bit more, snap her feet up so that she gets a little bit more control. She comes over the top and lines it up. Left her a little bit short. Judges are going to look for the overall impression. And they like that okay. They got 6.5s across the board. She'd have a high score of 7.
We got a Purdue Boilermaker up next. Casey Matthews doing the same dive. Forward 1.5, 1 twist.
This dive set up just a little bit better. Nice twisting form, beautiful toe point, kept her legs together through the entire dive. That's a little difficult for those of you just learning how to do these dives. Judges awards of 8 average and goes high as 8.5.
And Nicole Tim, University of New Mexico, doing front 2.5 pike.
And this dive stood up very well. You're looking at it from the side view. You see she gets up almost over the 3-meter springboard as she somersaults on the way up, makes the dive much easier. She's going to average 7.5s on that dive.
And from the University of Massachusetts, Michaela Butler, she's going to be starting with inward 1.5 somersaults, pike.
Really like the way she starts that dive out. Good foot push. Now, she was a little out further than some of the others, but I think the judge is going to like that. The award is high as an 8, and she's going to keep 7.5s on that dive.
Looks like Michelle Capasol is going to be doing back 1.5 somersaults pike. She's from Purdue.
Nice control. A little bit wide on the takeoff with her arms. Lets the dive fall back just a little bit. She stayed up on her toes. It's going to jump a little higher. She's also going to, looks like she's going to keep 6.5 and 7s on that dive.
Our 36th diver out of 40 is Lindsay Lester. She's going to be doing front 2.5 somersaults pike from University of Miami.
Now, Lindsay got way ahead of herself on the end of the board. She wants to sit back and let the board do most of the work on that one. The dive went out much farther than what she would have liked. Judges' scores are she's going to keep 4.5s, 33.8 total.
Next diver from Cal Berkeley, Kaylee Roll, will be doing back 1.5 somersaults with a half twist.
It's one of the simpler twisting dives that we're going to see today, but she stood it up nicely, got squared out, piked down a little bit out. She's going to keep 5.5s and 6s on that dive.
And Kelsey Goodman from Florida State, she'll be doing full twisting 1.5 somersaults.
Kelsey did a good job on that. She's a little bit back on the end of the board on takeoff. Got it twisted around well, squared out. Got herself into the water nicely. She's going to keep 6.5s on that. She dove at Moss Farms Diving down in Moultrie, Georgia, where diving seems to be the number one thing of the community.
A couple divers here from the high school, actually. Carrie Dragland, she has the toughest list in this whole event. University of Miami starting off with inward 1.5 somersault pike.
She rode the board up nice and smooth on there, made that dive look effortless. That's exactly what they're looking for. Nice entry. Let's see what the judges think about that. They're going to give her 7s across the board.
And Kara McCormick from Miami is going to be doing front 2.5 somersaults pike. Last diver in this round.
Kara had a nice, powerful approach and hurdle, got way up into the takeoff. Dive went out just a little bit, caused her a little bit of overage there at the end. Judges' score she's going to keep, looks like, average of 5 on that dive.
And Cheyenne Cousineau from Ohio State is going to be doing, for her second dive, reverse 1.5 somersault pike.
Cheyenne did a really good job with that. Tighten up the core a little bit and let it go a little higher, but she got her flat hands on the water. Nice sound. 7.5s across the board. A high score of 8.
Kelly Stockton, second dive, is going to be front 2.5 somersaults pike. Virginia Tech.
This dive was well out over the board as she came down into her hurdle, let herself out in the middle of the pool, scores 3 on that dive, 3.5.
Next diver, Laura Ryan, University of Georgia, dove for Indiana University last year. She's a veteran of these NCAAs, doing reverse 1.5 somersaults pike.
Dive started out pretty nice, set up well, good block on the pike. Came out just a little early, a little loose. She's going to end up keeping 5.5 and 6s on that.
And Marin Taylor from University of Texas, inward 1.5 somersaults pike.
Really like the way she gets into that pike nice and tight. Good toe point. A little bit heavy on the entry, slightly over. Going to keep 7.5s and 8s. And notice the form is really what's going to help these divers out throughout this competition.
Chris Cabot, University of Kentucky, forward 2.5 somersaults pike.
Chris got a little bit slow on the arm swing there, got shoulders out over the board. Dive traveled quite a distance off of the board, but she did a pretty good job getting it in the water. She's going to keep 6.5, 6s.
And from University of Connecticut, Danielle Secco doing reverse 1.5 somersaults pike. We saw one of those earlier in the round.
Very nice job getting up off the board. Good connection into that pike. Little loose coming out of the dive. Put it vertical in the end. It's going to keep 6s, 6.5.
And Tori Lamp from Tennessee doing back 1.5 somersaults pike. Tori was a finalist here last year, NCAAs.
Tori does a really good job getting that dive up in the air and around, pressed out nice, went in the water clean. Let's see what the judges think about that. They're going to go. They're going to keep 7, 7.5s on the dive. Victoria is primarily a platform diver, I do believe.
Haley Casper from Arizona State, front 2.5 somersaults pike.
Very well executed front 2.5 pike, spun effortlessly, got into the water clean. See what the judges think about it from their angle. Waiting on Judge 1's score here. She's going to keep 7, 7.5 on that, a high score of 8.
And Hannah Prigg, reverse 1.5 somersaults pike.
Pretty good jump off the diving board. I like the way that she got into the pike and pressed out of it. She got a little bit loose there at the end. She's going to keep 5, 5.5s, I believe, across the board there.
And Maggie Kiefer, she was a 1-meter champion at Big Tens and placed 5th at NCAAs in this event last year, doing front 2.5 somersaults pike.
She rode the board pretty well on that. Kind of came out underneath a little bit more than you might have wanted to, but she got the dive into the water pretty clean. She's going to keep 7, 7.5 on the dive for 55.9 points.
Sarah McCready, her teammates, going to be doing front 2.5 somersaults pike, the same dive.
See that dive traveled a little bit farther out. She kind of ducked her head on the entry as well, and that caused the feet to go over. She's going to keep 4.5s on that dive.
And Shelby Cullinan from the University of Texas doing the same dive but in tuck.
She got into a really picture-perfect tuck on that dive. Got it out of it really well, got in the water clean. Judges' scores are going to keep 6s across the board.
Kelly Hendricks from Eastern Michigan, reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike.
She had to work on that one. She's a little bit back off the end of the board. Did a really good job pushing through her toes to get herself up and away. Nice job getting that into the water.
A little technical difficulties. There we go.
She scores as high as 8. She's going to keep 7, 7.5, 7.5 on that dive. Very well done. Well done.
Amy Kozad from Indiana University, back 1 1/2 somersaults pike.
I like how Amy just appears to have so much control on that dive. Gets her arms up over her head, waits for the connection, presses out of it. She's going to keep 7s across the board, as high as 7.5 from the judges.
And our next diver, Rachel Mama from NC State, front 2 1/2 somersaults pike.
A little bit loose on that pike. She's a little bit tighter there. She's going to see it spin a little bit faster, easier to come out of. She kind of watched that fall into the water, and she's going to average about 6s on that dive.
Next diver from the University of Arizona, Samantha Pickens, front 2 1/2 somersaults pike, same dive. What do you think, Kevin?
That's a good job with Samantha. She's a little bit back on the board as well, so she has to work a lot harder to get the dive to go around, but she didn't let that phase her. She got it up in the air, nice pike, put it in the water clean, and she's going to keep 7.5 from the judges, scored as high as an 8.
And Danielle Hulvey from Eastern Michigan University is going to be doing the same dive as the last two. Front 2 1/2 somersaults pike.
She got off the board pretty well as she's coming out. You see her reach in front of her for the come-out sequence, and it's a little bit harder to line that thing up quite as well getting clean, but she's going to keep 7s across the board with 54.6.
And Cassie Wheel, LSU Tigers, inward 1 1/2 somersaults pike for her second dive.
Stood that up over the board pretty well. She kind of checked out a little bit early, possibly left a little harder to get herself into the water straight up and down vertical, but she did a good job getting there. She's going to keep 6.5, 7s on that dive.
And from Arizona State, Morgan Weller doing back 1 1/2 somersaults pike.
Really like the way that she got up into that dive, weighted on the pike, got a good connection. It rotated up on the way up. She's going to keep 6.5 and 7s on it, get in the water a little bit cleaner. She'll see those scores go a little higher.
Logan Klein from Virginia Tech doing front 2 1/2 somersaults pike.
She got up into that hurdle. You might have noticed that she appeared to be trying to check her balance a little bit. She did a great job doing that. Let the board help her. She's going to end up keeping 6.5 or 6 5.5s on the dive. Not too bad.
Emma Ivory Ganja from UCLA, back 1 1/2 somersaults pike.
This dive stood up well. It got into the pike very nice. As she pressed out, loosened her back. You see her toes get a little close to the diving board. Judges are they like it pretty well at 6.5 to 7s.
And Jennifer Chang from Notre Dame, front 2 1/2 somersaults pike. Okay, we're back. We had a little bit of technical difficulties with the camera, but we're back, and up right now, Casey Matthews from Purdue doing front 2 1/2 somersaults pike.
Casey got into that dive pretty well, a little bit forward. Left herself just a little bit short, but a beautiful pike, nice toe point. And she's going to keep 6.5. Judges score as high as 7.
Nicole Tim from University of New Mexico doing back 1.5 somersaults pike.
Dive set up pretty well. She looked back a little bit hard and let her feet wash over. This stage of the game, every point counts. She's going to keep 5.5s on that dive.
And Michaela Butler from UMass, front 2.5 somersaults pike.
It's a nice dive, a little bit better toe point. As she comes off the board, it'll help that dive spin up a little bit if she's pushing through the toes. Got in the water really clean. She's going to keep 7s on that dive.
We've got a Boilermaker up next, Michelle Cavasol doing reverse 1.5 somersaults pike.
Michelle was nice and patient on the takeoff there. Dive went up pretty well. She's looked back, put it straight up and down into the water.
Lindsay Lester, how is that? How's the scores on that?
She's a little bit out. She's going to keep, looks like 5.5s on that dive.
Lindsay Lester from University of Miami, she's going to be doing front 1.5 two twists. We haven't seen one of those yet today.
I like the way she got up off the diving board and controlled the twist. As she squared out down and underneath, she kind of lost it a little bit on the end. She's going to end up keeping 5.5s on that dive.
And Kaylee Roel from Cal Berkeley doing inward 1.5 somersaults pike on round 2 of 6.
She started with her head down just a little bit. If she keeps that head up and pops the hips a little higher, she'll have a little more control up over the board. She's going to be keeping 6.5, 6s on that dive.
Kelsey Goodman, Florida State, front 2.5 somersaults pike.
Kelsey needed to wait just a little bit longer. Looks like on that dive she reached a little in front of her on the come-out sequence. Left the dive a little bit short from this angle. And she's going to high 5. She's going to keep 4.5s on that dive.
And Carrie Dragland from University of Miami, front 2.5 somersaults pike. We actually have 18 World Championship trial qualifiers in this field, Kevin.
Front 2.5. From our angle, you can see that it goes off the side of the board just a little bit. I'm not sure if the judges can see it from where they were. They may have, they're awarding that dive a average score of 5.5 to 6.
And
the World Championship trials are coming up here in just another month, I believe.
so we'll see a lot of these divers in that competition. Karen McCormick, front 1.5, two twists.
She did a really good job coming off the board, staying nice and straight. Somersault could have moved a little bit faster for her to let her line it up a little bit easier, but she did a good job getting that down. Wait. She's going to keep 6.5s on the dive.
Cheyenne Cosno from Ohio State is going to start us off in round 3, doing reverse 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist free.
That's one of the harder twisters that we've seen today. Got up off the board very well. Nice streamlined body position as she's twisting and squares out. A little bit off to the side, a little bit out. She's going to keep 5.5s on that dive.
And Kelly's going to start her round 3 off with reverse 1.5 somersault pike.
She came off the board, crimped her knees just a little bit. The dive went out a little bit farther than it would have otherwise. See what the judges think and how much they're going to take off for that knee break. She's going to keep, looks like 5.5s on the dive with a high of 6.5 and a low of 5.
Laura Ryan doing back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twists.
like how aggressive her downswing was as she sunk down into that board. She lifted her head a little bit, and it might have moved further out than she would have liked. Makes it a little harder to get it up and down, but she does a great job with that dive. She's going to keep 6.5 and 2 sevens.
Marin Taylor, Texas Longhorns, doing front 2 1/2 somersaults pike. Marin and the Longhorns are coached by Matt Scoggins.
See, she gets up into her hurdle. She's pretty aggressive in the approach, and then she comes down and steps back, leaves herself a little short of the board. Does a great job working the entry on that. She's going to keep sevens.
And Krista Cavett from Kentucky, back 1 1/2 somersault pike. This is Krista's first NCAA championship.
She did a very nice job waiting on that diving board to help her out. Popped her up into the air. Nice pike connection. Pressed out, looked back, reached. She's going to keep 7.5 and 1 7 on that dive.
And Danielle, another veteran of NCAA, she was here last year, doing front 2 1/2 somersault pike.
She's got that dive moving really fast for her. She's found the entry on it as she came over the top. This angle, it's a little hard to see how high they're jumping in the air, Jim, but we're going to see that the judges liked it at 6.5.
Tori Lamp, SEC Diver of the Year this year, reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike.
She really got that down into the water really clean. She's got her head down a little bit as she's walking out there and a little loose on the back as she comes over the top, but she's going to keep 7 and 2 7.5 on that for 51 points on the dive.
Haley Casper from Arizona State, back 1 1/2 somersault pike. We're in round 3, diver number 9.
Haley was our second place diver after the last round. Beautiful takeoff on that dive. Nice and tight connection. It just flowed. She came out just a little bit early, left it slightly short on the bottom. And the judges are going to give her an average score of 5.5, low of 4.5, high of 5.5 on the dive.
And Hannah Prigg, front 2 1/2 somersault pike, Fresno State University.
Shows really nice lines on these dives. Very tight pike, a little bit low. Doesn't spin quite as fast as some of the others, but she's going to bring that dive home with 5.5 across the board.
Maggie Kiefer from University of Minnesota, back 1 1/2 somersaults pike. Again, she finished 5th last year in this event. One of 3 finalists, Samantha Pickens, Maggie, and Logan Klein from Virginia Tech.
Dive set up very nice force, nice stretch on the bottom of that dive. Got in the water really clean, and she's going to keep, looks like 7.5. She had 2 8s on that dive.
Sarah McCready, her teammates, going to be doing back 1 1/2 somersault, 1 1/2 twist free.
She's got that dive set up as she's coming around the top and lines it up in the bottom. She's a little bit low to the water. Out from this angle a little bit further than she might have wanted. You stand the dive up better, get the somersault moving quicker. It makes it a lot easier to finish off that twist. She's going to keep 5.5 across the board.
Shelby Cullen from Texas doing reverse 1 1/2 somersault tuck. We've seen this dive done many times before in this round, pike, and Shelby's doing it tuck.
Very well executed reverse 1.5 tuck. Got up, spun in a nice, beautiful tuck position, got into the water really clean. Let's see what the judges think about that. 2 scores of 8. She's going to keep 7s on the dive, a low score of 6.5.
And Kelly Hendricks from Eastern Michigan doing inward 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Well executed dive, got it up and down straight. A little bit lower than some of the other ones we've seen. Makes her work just a little bit harder for the entry, but she did a good job getting that in the water. She's gonna keep seven, looks like 6.5 on that dive for 48 total points.
Next diver up, Amy Kozad from IU, doing reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Got up off the board pretty well, let the hips move a little bit early, so it's out a little farther than what she may like to be able to bring that around. She's going to average 6s on that dive. Amy is one of the top platform divers in the country as well.
Rachel Mama from NC State. She'll be doing front 1 1/2 somersault 2 twists.
Twist on that dive was a little bit slow, makes it harder for her to square out and lift her hips at the end, but she did a good job getting over the top, bringing the legs vertical before she completely submerged. She's going to end up with 5.5 on that dive, a total of 41.6 points.
Samantha Pickens finished 4th in this event at last year's NCAAs, doing back 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Samantha's great jump on that dive. Got it up in the air, beautiful pike pressed out, got her hands on the water and went in with almost no splash on that. From this angle, that was a really nicely performed dive. The top platform divers in the country as well.
Rachel Mama from NC State. She'll be doing front 1 1/2 somersault 2 twists.
Twist on that dive was a little bit slow, makes it harder for her to square out and lift her hips at the end, but she did a good job getting over the top, bringing the legs vertical before she completely submerged. She's going to end up with 5.5 on that dive, a total of 41.6 points.
Samantha Pickens finished 4th in this event at last year's NCAAs, doing back 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Samantha's great jump on that dive. Got it up in the air, beautiful pike pressed out, got her hands on the water and went in with almost no splash on that. From this angle, that was a really nicely performed dive. And the judges agree. She's gonna keep 8.5, 8.5. 2 judges giving her a 9.
And next up is Cassie Wheel from LSU. Back 1 1/2 somersault. Well, I got the wrong dive. I think it's Danielle Hulvey. I apologize. That's reverse 1/2 somersault pike.
Danielle left the board a little bit loose in the core. Makes the dive a little bit harder to get spinning. Moved out. She's going to keep 6.5 and 5.5 on that dive, however. Did a good job getting that in the water.
Cassie Wheel, LSU, doing back 1 1/2 somersault pike. Cassie's coached by Doug Schaefer.
Another well-executed back 1.5. This one went over a little bit more than what we saw just previously, but the positions are beautiful. Her lines are great. Nice jump, strong off the diving board. Because she was out a little more and a little bit over, she does keep 6.5 on that back 1.5.
And Morgan Weller, Arizona State, doing reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike.
She got a little bit out of balance on that approach. You could see her make an adjustment there. Makes the dive a lot harder to do because you're starting to fight with the diving board and fight with physics, but she got a good job of getting it around, put it a little bit short. She's going to end up keeping, it looks like 5.5, 6.5 on that dive from the judges.
Logan Klein, she finished 7th in this event last year. Back 1 1/2 somersault pike.
See, Logan didn't jump quite as high as the previous back 1.5 that went in for 9s, but that was a pretty well executed dive. Back a little bit. She's going to, looks like keep 6.5, 7, 7 on the dive. Did a good job getting down into the water.
And our Ivory Ganja from UCLA. Reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike.
like how aggressive and straight up and down she was on the takeoff there. She got good foot push, got it up into the air. A little bit loose on the entry, left a little bit of a splash there. So she's going to keep 6.5s, it looks like, on that for 44.4 points.
Jen Chang from Notre Dame, back 1.5 somersault pike. This is round 3 of 6. Our record holder in this event is Cassie Krug, holds this record from 2007.
Jennifer got the dive moving pretty well. She came out just a little bit early with the loose back, so it's a little bit harder to get the legs up vertical as she goes in the water. Leaves a little bit heavier in entry than she might have liked. She's going to keep 5.5s on that dive from the judges.
Kaylee Arnett's going to be doing reverse 1.5 twists, also known as gainer twister.
Very good job on that dive. Got it, arms up over her head, beautiful twisting line, squared out with plenty of time to line it up. Let's see what the judges think. She's going to keep 6.5, 7, 7 on that for 53.3 points.
Rebecca St. Germain from Texas A&M, back 1.5 somersault pike.
Very nice jump, very relaxed coming off the diving board, connected and somersaulted on the way up. Pressed out, look back. In this angle, she's got a little bit of a leg split, but the judges probably don't see that, and they're going to award her with 6.5s and 7s for 46 points.
Haley Ishimatsu from USC, reverse 1.5 somersault pike. Haley actually got 10s on a back 3.5 tuck at zones last week. Can't wait to see her dive tower.
Haley did a really nice job getting up into the air, a little bit out on that reverse 1.5, and anytime that you're traveling away from the board, it makes it a little bit harder. She did a good job getting that in the water. She's going to go 6.5s across the board from the judging panel for 46.8 points.
Figgy Figueroa from Missouri, back 1.5 somersault pike. She dove for Charlie Casuto, who was my old coach as an age grouper.
Figgy's entering this round in first place as well.
Pretty strong.
Very nice jump. Dropped the heels and let it go back just a little bit, but she jumped so high and spun so nice with the clean entry, I'm not sure that's going to bother the judging panel that much. She's going to keep 7s, it looks like, on that dive for 46 points total.
And Jody McGrody from Tennessee, another gainer twister, reverse 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twists.
Very well executed dive. This dive for anyone is a tough dive. You got to be patient on the board. You got to let the diving board help you. This one went up very nice, very in control on the twist, squared out, lined up with some drop time. She's going to keep 7s on that dive.
The 28th diver in this round, and Perry Blank, Georgia Bulldogs, back 1.5 somersault pike.
Now that dive started out pretty well. She let go a little bit early and left it pretty short. She noticed most of these girls are doing the same dive, so you don't want to afford a mishap such as that. She's going to keep 5.5s, it looks like, on the dive.
And Kate Hillman from Shenandoah High School, originally now diving for IU, doing back 1.5 somersault pike.
Kate looks very relaxed on this dive. She's got a good jump on it. Beautiful pike, pressed out, look back, very much in control. She's going to, looks like she'll hit 6.5s for a total of 44.85 points. Kate entered the round in 9th place.
Amy Harrison, back 1.5 somersault pike.
Amy's back 1.5 started out a little bit slower than Kate's did. Did a good job controlling the dive altogether, and she's going to come back with 6s for 41.40 points on that dive.
And Nicole Scott from Rutgers is going to be doing the same dive as Amy and Kate, back 1.5 somersault pike. How tough is it to have 3 in a row just like that, Kevin?
Well, as you see the same dive over and over from the judging panel, you do put some comparisons in place. This one jumped not quite as high. It was a little bit back. and she ends up a little bit short, so I believe we're going to see lower scores, and we do. We're going to see 5.5 fives, 35.65.
Have another back 1.5. Casey Matthews from Purdue.
Now you notice that dive jumped up much higher than the previous one. Had a nice toe point leg line. Slightly short from this angle. It's hard to tell where we are exactly looking at from up here in the stands, but we'll see what the judges think about it here. And they liked it. 44.85, high of 7.5, low of 6.
Nicole Tim from New Mexico doing reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Dive had a lot of power coming up off the board, jumped up really nicely. She's off a little to the side, to the left. Not sure if the judges can see that or not, but she does end up keeping 5s on that dive. So they probably did see that coming off the side of the board.
Kayla Butler from UMass, back 1 1/2 somersaults pike. That was pretty nice, Kevin.
That was a nicely executed diving. She had her head back a little bit as she took off, but she did a good job of keeping it all together, put it in the water nice and clean, and that's the last thing that the judges see. So we'll see what they think about this overall dive. So we're waiting on one of the judges to punch their score in. Yeah, they liked it as well. She's gonna keep 7.5. She got as high as an 8 from the judging panel on that.
And Michelle Cavasaw from Purdue, back 1 1/2 somersault, 1.5 twist.
Arm swung through just a little bit later than she might have liked, caused her to really pull that somersault up and over. Didn't get as high as she would have liked to get. Ends up keeping 6s on that, 45 points. Still a pretty good score on the dive.
And for Miami, Lindsay Lester doing reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike. How tough is it, Kevin, to have their conference meet, then zone meet, then this meet, all within a 3-week span?
Yeah, they're all training really hard, and they've got their routines down pretty well, so they make it through there. We just saw a pretty good reverse 1 1/2. Judges liked it. Straight across 7s is what they kept there. Yeah, most of these divers have been around quite some time, so they're used to meets back to back. It's not necessarily ideal, but they all manage pretty well.
And Kaylee Rowe from Cal Berkeley, front 2 1/2 somersault tuck.
That dive got out in front of her a little bit as she's leaving the diving board, so we saw it somersault on the way out instead of on the way up. She's going to end up keeping 5s across the board on that. It looks like high of 6, low of 4.5.
And Kelsey Goodman from Florida State doing a reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike.
She kind of scooted that one off the diving board. Makes it a little bit difficult because you're doing a lot of the work there with your upper body as you make the connection. Dive doesn't go up quite as high, but she does a good job with it. And she's going to keep 6 to 6.5 or 45.6 points on that dive.
Carrie Dragler from Miami doing back 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Really nice jump in control, presses out, looks back. A little bit loose maybe on the back as she let go of the legs, but she brought them up vertical. The judge is going to like that. She's going to go 6.5, 7s across the board, 46 total points there.
And her teammate, Kara McCormick, doing the same dive from University of Miami, back 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Another well-executed back 1 1/2. A little bit more knee bend and jump higher. She'll be able to control that out on vertical, but did a really good job with that. The judges liked it. They're going to go 7s across the board.
And our 21st diver, round 3, Emma Ivory Ganja from UCLA. The Bruin will be doing reverse. Well, she must have changed.
No,
we're in
round 4.
That's right. Okay. Cheyenne Cosinu doing
Cheyenne
back 1 1/2 somersault pike. Sorry
Cheyenne
about that.
did a nice back 1 1/2. Got the dive moving pretty well. Saw it close to the board, in clean, goes as high as an 8. She's going to keep 7, 7, 7.5 or 49.45 points on the dive.
This is round 4. Kelly Stockton doing back 1 1/2 somersault, 1 1/2 twist.
This dive sets up a little bit back. It's hard to tell from our angle in this where the takeoffs are and how far they go out, but she did go a little bit further out, a little heavy on the entry. She's going to keep 5.5 and 6s on that dive.
And Laura Ryan from Georgia doing, for her 4th round, inward 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Laura did a good job getting up and over the diving board there. She let that dive go just a little bit long on her at the end. Kind of got away from her, but salvages 7s across the board on that, 50.40 points. She'll be happy with that, I suspect.
Krista Cabot doing reverse 1 1/2 somersault, 1 1/2 twist. Well,
that was actually Marion Taylor doing reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike. She came into the round in 2nd place. That dive's not going to help her as she averages 4 1/2 across the board.
and Krista Cabot doing gator twister, reverse 1 1/2 somersault, 1 1/2 twist. Krista's from the Woodlands and actually went to high school with Emma Ivory Ganja.
She's coming into this round in 8th place as well, right there on the bubble for finals. Dive went up in the air, twisted pretty well. Hard to tell from our angle. It might have a slight over twist on it. We'll see as the judges put their scores up. It goes from 6.5 to 4.5. She got 45.5 points on that, so I suspect she did have a slight over twist from their angle.
Danielle Secco from UConn doing inward 1 1/2 somersault pike. That was pretty nice, Kevin.
It's a good jump up off the diving board. Very nice leg lines. A little bit farther out than some of the others we've seen today, but it got in the water clean, and she's going to go pretty much 7s across the board.
We got
1 6.5 there.
We got another inward 1 1/2 by Tori Lamp from University of Tennessee.
Tori starts this dive. She's got to always seems to have her chin down just a little bit. She starts the dive a little early so it doesn't travel up in the air as well, but she does a good job with the dive, and she's going to end up keeping 7.5, 7.5, 7. Not a bad dive for her.
Haley Casper.
Her max score ever on that was a 50, and she just came in at 51.6, so that was actually really, really good for what she's doing.
Haley Casper from Arizona State, reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Really like the control that she shows up into the approach and the hurdle. She's very aggressive, nice flowing approach. Dive goes over just slightly, but I think that overall it wasn't a bad dive, and she's going to keep 6s. She had a high of 7, low of 6 on the dive.
And Hannah Prigg doing inward 1 1/2 somersault pike. Fresno State University.
Got that dive into the water really nice. Nice toe point going in there. Going to average 7s across the board for the judges, 50.4 points. It's just above her average on that dive.
And Maggie Kiefer doing reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike, University of Minnesota. Minnesota actually won as a team Big Tens this year. And I think their divers really helped them.
And I can see why. That was a very good jump. She got way up into the air, nice and controlled, just slightly over from the ankles. She's going to keep 7s on that dive, 50.4 points, just slightly below what her average is on that dive.
And Sarah McCready from Minnesota, her teammate's going to be doing the same dive, reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike. As a coach, Kevin, is that a strategy to have your divers do the same dive, or does it matter?
Well, it depends on what they're doing. Some of these divers also compete in synchro, and so they're used to doing the same dives in the same order, and you really want to put whatever's comfortable for them. We saw Sarah go slightly over on that reverse 1 1/2. Also jumped really high. She kept 5.5s on the dive.
Shelby's going to be doing inward 1 1/2 somersault pike from Texas.
Like the way she pushes through her feet coming off the diving board. She's a little bit early on her throw, lets her head come down, so it pushes her out a little bit more than what she wants to do. She can get that up and over the top. She'll be able to line it up and probably make the judges throw her a little bit higher scores than what she sees, but she's doing really well with keeping 7s on that. She goes as low as 6.5, as high as an 8.
Kelly Hendricks from Eastern Michigan doing back 1 1/2 somersault, 1 1/2 twist. She's talking to the officials right now.
Appears they may have announced the wrong dive, and she had to make that correction before she got up on the board. Dive got up in the air, very nice. Sets up the twist well, squares out over the top. Gets in the water really clean. Judges are going to give her 7s across the board, which is going to keep 4. She's as low as a 6, but mostly 7s.
And Amy Kozad doing front 2 1/2 somersault pike. Natatorium this year is 32 years old, Kevin. Built in 1982.
I believe I competed in it back in the beginning days.
In the early days?
It's a very nice front 2 1/2
like
pike
that.
by Amy. She's nice and smooth. Doesn't look like there's much effort into that dive at all, which is exactly what you want to see. She's going to get 7s across the board, 54.6 points, just shy of her best score ever on that dive.
I think her springboard has really improved, Kevin. I know her tower was always her strength over the years, but I think her springboard's improved tremendously. Rachel's doing back 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Very nice jump on that dive. Arms from this angle, you can see them come apart a little bit on the takeoff, which takes away a little of the power, but very well done dive. She's going to keep 7s from the judges. Low as 6.5, high of 7, 48.3 points. It's well above her average score on the dive, so they're competing very well today.
And Samantha Pickens from Arizona doing reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike. Looks like we got pretty tight competition going. 4-point lead. That was
well
high.
performed, reverse
That
1
was up
1/2.
there.
Got up into the air, nice. Pressed out, looked back, got that thing into the water. We go 8.5. This is what she's going to keep high at 9 and a low of 8. Very well performed. 61.2 points on that dive.
Danielle Halvey from Eastern Michigan doing reverse 1 1/2 somersault, 1 1/2 twist. These guys are putting on a show today.
Yes, they are. They're doing a lot of the same dives, so they know they have to do them better than the one before. We just saw really well performed reverse 1 1/2, 1 1/2 that kept 7s, 53.3 points total. Again, these divers are all putting dives in, or most of them are putting dives in well above their average on each of these dives.
And Cassie Wheel, LSU Tigers, reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike.
I like the jump and the pike on that dive. Came out a little bit loose in the core, which allowed her to finally bring her legs around, got into the water very clean. The clean entry is always impressive to the judging panel. She's going to score 46.8 points on that. Her average on that dive has been 43.35, so even there she's making an improvement there.
And Morgan Weller from Arizona State, front 2 1/2 somersault pike.
A little bit heavy on the entry, well done on the takeoff. These divers are all competing for those top 16 spots, or the top 8 for finals. She's going to keep 7.5 on that, 55.9 points.
At this point in the competition, Kevin, you can't miss. If you want to make that final 8.
You want to make the top 8, you definitely can't have a miss in here.
Here's Logan Klein doing reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike.
She's got a little bit ahead of herself there. It's going to allow that dive to go slightly past vertical. She's a strong diver. She's going to keep 37.2 points on that. She's not going to be real happy with the result on that dive.
Here's Krista Cabot's high school teammate from the Woodlands. Emma's going to be doing dive 5233, which is the number, and it's back 1 1/2 somersault, 1 1/2 twist free.
Real strong jump on that. A little bit wide on the arms, I think, for the takeoff, so it makes the final part of the dive of the square out pike down a little bit tougher. She's going to keep 5.5s on that, 41.25.
Jen Chang doing reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Jen sets that dive up very nicely on the takeoff and then allows it to go a little bit past. I'm not sure that you can afford those mistakes at this point in the game. Going to keep mostly 5.5s there and a 6, 40.8 points.
From Virginia Tech, Kaylee Arnett. Fourth dive, front 2 1/2 somersault pike.
She was way over on the corner of the board there as she took off. Great job getting that dive around and salvaging something on that takeoff. She's going to keep 6.5 or 6s on that dive, 48.1 points.
That's a bad feeling, isn't it, Kevin?
It is a very bad feeling. Greg Louganis used to say you want to be able to get to the right place from the wrong place, and she definitely showed that it's possible.
That's right. Rebecca St. Germain doing reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Very powerful approach and hurdle. Nice balance as she took off. Love the pike position on that. Put that up and down. She entered this round in 6th place and 54 points, averaging, keeping 7.5s on the dive.
And Haley Ishmasto from Southern Cal, former Olympian, front 2 1/2 somersault pike.
She can really get that dive moving. She's got lots of power in her legs, got the dive going really good. Nice, beautiful pike. A little bit out further than what we've seen from some of the others. She came into this round in 16th place, and she's going to keep 6.5, so looks like 49.4.
You have Figgy Figueroa doing back 1 1/2 somersault, 1 1/2 twist.
Nicely executed dive. Again, with back twisters, they tend to go out just a little bit more for most of these divers. She entered this round in 4th place. She's going to have an array of scores from 5 up to 7, 50 points on the dive.
And Jody McGrady from University of Tennessee, also from England, our only diver today from England. 51.32D, which is a forward 1 1/2 somersault, 1 twist. We got a little break in the action. We actually have 3 countries represented. We have 4 Canadians, 1 England, and 36 from the United States.
Looks like they were adjusting a score there. I think we previously said a low of 5.5 maybe. She had 6.5s and 7s on that dive. Jody just made
Pretty
that
nice.
Full twisty front 1 1/2 look like a voluntary dive. Nice in control, very beautiful dive in the air. She's going to keep 7.5s, 49.5 points on the dive.
Ann Perry Blank from Georgia doing reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike.
She moved that approach to the left and she took off a little bit to the right. Makes it a little bit harder to control what you're doing in the air. She left the dive slightly short. She's going to keep 5.5s on that dive, 39.6 points.
Our 29th diver of this round, round 4, Kate Hillman from IU, will be doing reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Kate did a really nice job on that dive. Came off the board a little bit to the left. She entered this round in 10th place. Great jump. Very powerful off the board. Got into the water really good. See slightly over possibly with her feet. We're waiting on the scores here now. And she's 46.8 points on that dive. That low of 6, high of 7s.
Amy Harrison from University of Hawaii doing reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Again, we see a diver get a little bit off balance on the approach, ends up over on the right-hand corner of the dive, and then has to work a little bit harder to make the dive go. Jumped it up really well, but wasn't able to salvage the scores. Ends up at a 4.5 on the dive.
Nicole Scott from Rutgers doing the same dive but in tuck. position.
You see as she comes off the board, a major knee split and flat feet. Not sure how much the judges see the knee split, but they're definitely going to see the flat feet on that dive. She's going to get 36.7 on there. Average of keeping 5.5, 6, it looks like.
Casey Matthews from Purdue. Reverse 1.5 somersault pike.
It's a well-executed reverse 1.5 pike. A little bit slow on the arms coming up off the board. You like to have your hands a little bit more vertical when you take off to make the dive easier, but she's going to keep 7s on that. 49.2 points.
And Nicole Tim from New Mexico doing inward 1.5 somersault pike.
Really like the pike on that dive. Just flat chest on flat legs, pointed toes. Beautiful presentation for the judges. They're going to give her 7.5 across the board, 54 points on the dive.
Michelle's going to be doing front 2.5 somersault pike. Or actually, it's
Michaela from Mass, and she just
yeah,
did a
Michaela. I'm
beautiful
sorry.
reverse 1.5 pike. Got off the board really aggressive. A little bit flat on the feet. She's going to keep 7s, 49.2 points across the board.
We've got Michelle Cavasol, next diver. Fourth dive is front 2.5 somersault pike.
Dive got off the board and looked like it was going to be very nice. She got into the in and kind of collapsed on the entry. See how much of that the judges see from their viewpoint. We're looking down into the water, so we see some of the things that happen underwater that the judges don't account for. And she's going to end up with 6s and 5.5, 45.5 points on that dive.
Lindsay Lester from Miami doing reverse 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twists for her fourth dive. We're coming down to crunch time, Kevin.
We've got just over 2 more rounds to go here. Really like the way that she got up into that reverse 1.5, 1.5. Lister had a little bit more than what I prefer, but did a good job of getting that dive moving. Straight up and down. She's got really pretty leg lines, nice toe point. She's going to keep 6s on that, 45.5 points.
And Kaylee Royal from Cal Berkeley. Fourth dive, reverse 1.5 somersault tuck.
This dive stood up and took off really well, and then she came out a little bit late, went a little bit over. When you're doing the dive in the tuck position versus pike, you've got to be even more accurate. She's going to keep 31 or 5s across the board, 31.5 points.
And this is a double twisting 1.5 by Kelsey Goodman, Florida State.
Nice tight body line in the twist. As she came out, she got a little out of control. The dive over twisted, looks like just slightly from our angle. She's going to end up going with 4.5s across the board from the judges, 33.8 points.
And Carrie Dragland from University of Miami doing reverse 1.5 somersault pike. That was really high.
Like the way that took off the diving board. She had her toes over the edge of the board a little bit, and so that always makes the divers a little more nervous by the dive. She did a great job with that, coming in 8.5 high, 7.5 low. She's going to keep 8s on that dive.
And Kara McCormick from Miami, her teammate. Same dive, reverse 1.5 somersault pike.
She got a good jump off the diving board, got up in the air well, but she was way off to the left, almost landing in between the two diving boards. The difference in the scores of keep 7, 7, 6.5 on that for 49.2 points.
Starting round 5, we got Cheyenne doing back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist. Leaderboard's getting pretty tight up there. Looks like Samantha Pickens has the lead at 227.2.
Nice strong jump off the diving board for her. Very nice lines, tight body as she's doing the twist. She's going to keep 7s on that dive, 52.5 points. She came into that round in 14th.
And Kelly Stockton, 5th round, back 1.5 somersault pike.
came off the diving board a little bit back, a little arched back as she took off, got into the pike well, got in the water well. She's going to come out with 43.7. She's going to keep 6.5s primarily.
Laura Ryan's front 2.5 somersault pike. Laura from Georgia.
This dive set up very nicely. You see her doing her somersaults up into the air, finishing the front 2.5 fairly high. She goes into the water a little bit heavier than we might like. Hard to tell from this angle what the judges see, but they're going to got high of 7, average 6.5, 50.7 points on that dive.
And we have a full twisting 1.5 by Marion Taylor from Texas for her round 5 dive.
She's one of those bubble divers. She's right at 15th place. Really good jump into the air. Completed the twist pretty high, squared out up over the top. See what the judges think about the distance on that dive. Must thought it was pretty good. She's going to keep 7, 7, 7.5, high of 8.
And our Kentucky Wildcat in the competition, Krista Cabot doing reverse 1.5 somersault pike.
Dive set up very nicely coming off the diving board. She could have held that just a little bit longer. She pressed her feet up instead of dropping her head back on the out. She could have put the dive straight up and down. As it turns out, she left it really short. She's going to keep 3.5s, 25.2 points on the dive.
Danielle Secco from Yukon doing back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist.
Again, very nice
That's
lines
pretty
on
solid.
this. Yeah, very nice lines, very nice dive. Kind of cuts the takeoff off a little bit, she's losing a little bit of height. She's at 6.5 across the board, 48.75 on the dive.
Tori Lamp, one of many All-Americans in this field, doing back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist.
Tori's entering this round in the 6th position. Dive went in the water superbly. Almost no splash whatsoever from this angle. Great takeoff, nice twisting position, squared out over the top, getting in the water clean. Waiting now on the judges' scores.
That was a pretty nice save too, Kevin.
It was very well done. She's going to go as high as 8, average 7.5, 57.5 points on that dive.
That helped her cause.
Of her best. Absolutely. She was in 6th place. She's now currently 1st. We'll see how this holds up throughout the round.
Haley Casper from Arizona State, full twisting 1.5.
Very nicely performed, 51.32, full twisting front 1.5. She got way high. Twist was done, ample time to square out, line that dive up. It's another one of the lower degree difficulties in the twisting optionals. She's going to average 7.5 on that, high score of 8, 49.5 points, just shy of her best ever on that dive.
And a pretty inward double tuck, pretty high degree of difficulty there, 2.8. I think it's the only one in the competition we're going to see today.
She had a great jump, great takeoff as you see her coming over the top and kicking out. She puts that over onto her stomach, and that's the risk that you run with a 2.8 dive. If you don't put it straight up and down, you're going to not get the reward for it. Sometimes that's where you take a lower DD and you make the dive happen for you. We're still waiting on the judges' scores there. She's going to keep 25.25 or 25.2 points. It's an average of 3s from the judging panel.
Maggie's going to do a reverse 1.5 somersault with a half twist.
That was a very well executed reverse 1.5 half. Nice and patient on the takeoff. Twisted at the exact right time to just make it look seamless and smooth. Slightly over from this angle on the entry. Let's see what the judges think about that. We're waiting on Judge 2. They go, she's going to keep 7, 7.5 on that, 47.3 points. That's a very well scoring dive.
Sarah McCready, her teammate, is going to actually add another twist to this dive and do reverse 1.5 twist instead of a half twist.
Looked like she got a little bit anxious on getting that twist started, unlike her teammate who really rode the board and waited on the somersault to happen. She got a little bit into it early, brought the dive off to the left of the board. She's going to go 5.5 on that dive, 41.6 points.
And Shelby Cunningham from Texas doing full twisting 1 1/2 somersaults. We're in round 5, 12th diver.
Twisting and somersault action, that was a little bit jerky. She didn't quite straighten her body out before she started the twist, but she did a good job on the dive overall. She's going to keep 6.5, 42.9 points.
Next diver is from Eastern Michigan, Kelly Hendricks, doing the same dive. Forward 1 1/2, 1 twist.
You see she waited a little bit longer to start her twist there, got her body a little more straight so the twist didn't have that wobble to it. Did look like she over-twisted a little bit or maybe faced a little to the left on takeoff. It's 37.4, averaging about 5.5 on that dive.
And Amy Kozad, she's doing a front 1 1/2, 2 twists. Higher degree of difficulty than the dive before.
Really like Amy's twisting action there. She stands that up very nice. Nice tight body, toes pointed, legs together. Goes as high as a 7, average 6.5, total of 50.7 points.
And Rachel Mama from NC State, 5th dive is going to be reverse 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Dive got into the water nice and clean, nice tight pike in the air. Looked to me like it went out just a slight bit more than what we've seen from some of the others, and she's going to keep mostly 6s here, 43.2 points.
And Samantha Pickens, one of our early leaders, doing full twisting 1 1/2 somersaults.
Samantha comes into this round still in first place. That dive shouldn't hurt her. She's a little bit short of vertical from this angle. Nice, tight, controlled twist. Good somersault. And judges awards as high as 7.5. Going to keep 7s on that dive. 46.2.
Danielle Hulvey from Eastern Michigan doing back 1 1/2 somersaults pike for her 5th dive. This round's the time to shine, Kevin. They're running out of dives.
Yeah, sometimes we call this the moving round.
Yep.
If you're not going to move here, you're probably not going to move. And she's trying to move.
She's trying to move.
Great dive. Nice jump. Beautiful pike. Great leg lines. Pressed out, looked back, made that just look easy. Judges liked it. 7.5, 7s. She got 49.45 across the board. She came into that round in 8th place.
And Cassie Wheel doing back 1 1/2 somersault, 1 1/2 twist.
Danielle, for the moment, has moved up into 4th.
Great job by Eastern Michigan.
This dive got the heels down just a little bit on takeoff, maybe initiated the twist a little bit early. So she's a little bit further out than she'd like to be, makes it more difficult. 45 points on the dive. She's going to average 6s.
Morgan Weller, Arizona State. Forward 1 1/2 somersault, 1 twist.
She could have let her heels come up a little bit more on that dive to make the twist action easier. She finished her twist a little bit before she finished her somersault, so it's harder to pike that down and line it up.
Yeah, she went a little short on that.
Yeah, she did a good job getting in the water. She's going to keep 7.5 and 2 7s, 47.3 points.
We got Logan Klein, Virginia Tech. Reverse 1 1/2 somersault, 1 1/2 twist free.
Dive started out over on the right-hand side of the board a little bit. Continue to travel between the two diving boards. When you're over on the side like that, the judges can notice that pretty well. You've got a reference point. She's going to get 41.6 points on the dive, average about 5.5 there.
And from UCLA, Emma's going to be doing 105B, which is a forward 2 1/2 somersault pike.
Very well executed dive.
Strong.
Yep, nice jump. She got a little bit forward, got the dive moving on the way up. Looked from here like she was a little bit short. I think the judges saw that too. 46.8 points. We're about averaging 6 is what she's going to keep from the judging panel.
And Jen Chang from Notre Dame. 5th dive is going to be back 1 1/2 somersault, 1 1/2 twists.
Really like the way that she stood that dive up, got it somersault moving, squared out over the top of the twist, lined it up. Might have swam her arms just a little bit early. Ends up 47.5 points, high of 7, low of 6.
Kayla Arnett doing back 1 1/2 somersault pike. That was really high, Kevin. That was a great jump.
Very good jump on that dive. Waited for the dive to lift up off the board, took full use of the diving board on that. She's going to get 47.15 points, highs of 7, low of 5.5, which will be dropped on that judging score.
And from Texas A&M, first year in the SEC, Rebecca St. Germain doing a reverse 1 1/2 somersault, 1 1/2 twist free.
Notice when she goes up into her hurdle, it almost looks like she's getting her waist up to the 3-meter platform, and she does the dive significantly higher than many of the others we've seen.
Yep.
She's going to go 50.7 points, keeping 6.5. Went as high as 7 on that dive. She was off to the right just slightly.
And Haley doing forward 1 1/2 somersaults, 1 twist free.
Haley makes that dive look very easy.
Makes it look like a voluntary.
Yeah, it does, which they don't do anymore at the NCAA level.
That's back in the old days, Kevin.
It's back when we used to dive. She's going to get 47.3 points, strong score on that, mostly 7.5 from the judging panel.
And Figgy Figueroa from Missouri, 5th dives, inward a 1 1/2 somersault pike. I can't wait to see how high she jumps on this.
She's coming into this round in 3rd place. Very well executed dive. It just goes up and just spins so controlled. Nice entry. Got the hands together. Beautiful leg lines. Last thing the judges see are the leg lines and the entry. So if you can get nice tight pointed toes and clean, no splash, you're going to score well. 52.8 points. She's going to keep 7.5 on that dive.
And Jody's going to be doing inward 1 1/2 somersault pike, same dive.
She definitely didn't let Figgy scare her away. That was a very well executed dive. Again, nice entry. Might have sat back just a little bit more than what Figgy did, but she's going to like it. She's got a high score of 8. Got 2 8s on that. We're going to keep 7.5, 54 points.
And Perry Blank, double twisting 1 1/2.
She let herself lean a little bit forward on that hurdle and take off. When you're doing a dive like this, you really want to be balanced. Let the diving board do the work for you. Makes it easier on you. She's going to keep 5s across the board on that one. 39 points.
Kate's doing a dive, reverse 1 1/2 somersault 1 1/2 twist. I remember her learning this dive a long time ago.
As do I. Many, many weeks. Very strong jump.
Great jump.
She does this dive very well. She's off to the side just a little bit. I like the body line. She kept her legs together really well. She's going to have a variety of scores from 4.5 to 6.5, 44.2, which is above her average. She was in 12th place going into that round. That shouldn't hurt her at all.
And Amy Harrison for her 5th dive, doing back 1 1/2 somersault, 1 1/2 twist free.
At this stage of the game, we don't want to leave dives short,
no.
That's for sure.
It's like leaving putts short.
It is. It is. That was a good jump. Needs to get it moving a little bit faster. She's going to keep 4.5 5s, 35 points on that dive.
And Nicole Scott for her 5th dive, inward 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Very nice jump. Just off to the side of the board. She probably won't even be able to notice that for the judging panel, but our angle, you can see it go off to the right. It does change the physics of the dive a little bit, makes you work harder.
Yeah, I think we can see a lot of things they can't see.
Absolutely. She got 5.5s across the board on that one.
Casey Matthews, front 1.5, 2 twists.
This is definitely a fun angle to watch diving from. As a
Oh,
coach,
yeah.
you don't see it very often.
No. What do you think, Kevin?
Like that, she can sit back a little bit more as she's taking off. It'll make the dive go up and spin a little bit quicker. She squared that out, kind of over twisted, I think, a little bit. Judges probably saw that. She's going to go 5.5, 44.2 points on that dive.
Nicole Tim for her 5th dive is going to do forward 1.5 somersault, 1 twist, free.
Starts that dive out like it's just going to be a piece of cake, easy dive, and then she squared out. She left it slightly short. Like the jump, like the control of the somersault, she just needs to bring those hips up on the out a little bit more. She came into this round in 6th place. She's going to keep 6.5s on that dive, 40.7 points.
And Caleb Butler from UMass, reverse 1.5 somersault tuck.
I think you forgot a
Correction.
somersault on there. That was a reverse.
That's a
2.5
305C.
somersault.
That's reverse 2.5.
You don't see
Only
it.
diver doing it in this competition. That's pretty darn awesome.
You don't see a lot of the women doing that dive. That was a really good dive. It's another risk-reward thing. She comes up with 5.5s on that, 49.5 points. Very strong takeoff, strong dive.
We got Michelle doing double twisting 1.5.
You notice as she comes off the board, she immediately starts that twist. Tells me that she's probably a little bit concerned about making the twist and not as concerned about the somersault. If she can let the somersault develop a little bit more, have more control, she'd like it a little better, I think. She's going to keep 6s on that, 45.5 points.
Lindsay Lester, 5th dive, inward 1.5 somersault pike.
Dive started out nice, up and down, straight, good foot push. Came off to the right side just slightly. She's gonna do all right there. 6.5s from the judging panel. Nice entry on that dive.
And Kaylee Roll from Cal Berkeley, doing back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twists. 5th round. We have 3 more divers in this round to go, and then we'll have the final round.
Got her heels dropped back just a little bit.
Yeah, it looked a
on
little
that.
back on that.
Yeah, it was quite a bit back. Arms were slow, heels were dropped. Did a good job overall. She's going to keep 5.5s, 38.75 points on that dive.
And Kelsey
Slightly below her average there.
Goodman, back 1.5 somersault pike for her 5th dive.
Kelsey just makes that dive look like it's going to be so easy. Just rides the board up. Nice, beautiful pike. Press out, look back. She's going to keep 7s across the board. Low of 6.5s to get dropped 48.3.
Carrie doing a reverse 1.5 somersault and 1.5 twists. 5th dive. That was pretty high, Kevin. That was a great jump.
Was nice. I like the way she stayed up over the board, stayed in the middle of the board, slightly over from this angle with her feet, but that was very well executed. Just going to see scores up here in just a minute. 7.5 high, 6.5 low, 55.9 points on that dive.
That'll help her.
It should help her a lot. That was very well executed.
Teammates doing the same dive. Karen McCormick.
Stands that up in the approach and hurdle very well, gets her balance, loads the board up. That one came off to the left just slightly, but I don't know that affected her a whole lot. Put it in the water really well. She got 49.4 on the dive. Going to keep 6.5s across the board there.
We're starting our final round. Diver number 1, Cheyenne. Ohio State doing inward 1.5 somersault pike.
Cheyenne enters the round in 9th place. Nice jump, slightly over on the entry. Some of that you see from our angle, you may not see from the judging panel. I like the way she stood it over the board, got into the water. The Waiting here for the judges' scores. She had 51.6 points, just shy of her maximum score ever on that dive.
Kelly's final dive, back 1 1/2 somersault with a half twist.
Really like the way she waits on that dive to do the twist. We see a lot of the younger kids that want to start that twist too early. She lets the somersault develop, twist at the top, and it hardly even looks like she's twisting.
It's
Lines
effortless.
Really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, 38.85. She's going to keep sixes and 6.5s on that dive.
Laura Ryan's big dive to end up with reverse 1 1/2 somersault, 1 1/2 twist.
She's gone as high as 62.4 points on this dive before. This one sets up really nice. I really like that. She should like that. It's a little bit over, but not too bad. Very strong on the jump. Nice controlled twist. She's going to 53.3. She's going to keep 7s, it looks like, on that dive.
Marin Taylor, final dive, double twisting 1 1/2. Some big dives in this last round, Kevin.
This is the round you either do the dive you're really good at or the one that you don't like so much. That one got a little bit forward on her, kind of squared out, a little loose on the twist out. Going to keep 7.5. She did a really good job of getting that down into the water.
Krista Cabot, final dive, inward 1 1/2 somersault pike.
I think it's important to note that all of these divers are amazingly talented
They
athletes.
I think the USA is in pretty good shape.
Dive stood up very nicely up over the top of the board, nice and controlled. A little bit head down on the out. So when she lines it up, it looks like goes slightly past vertical. Some of the judges saw that. She got 48 points. It's high of 5.5 or high of 7.5, low of 5 on that dive.
Danielle Secca from UConn, double twisting 1 1/2. Pretty high DD.
She got her toes over the edge of the board and a little bit leaning forward. I believe she only did one twist.
Yeah, I think
on
she
that
only
dive.
did one twist.
Let's see what. Yes, they're calling that an incorrect
That's unfortunate.
dive. She was sitting in 17th place, I believe, before that.
Tori's her final dive is going to be reverse 1 1/2 somersault, 1 1/2 twist. 2.6 degree of difficulty.
Tori comes into the round in 3rd place.
That didn't hurt her.
That dive's going to help her. That was a nice dive. She's tall and nice leg lines. It's easy for her to get into the water clean because she keeps her body so tight. Squeezes the head and shoulders. She's going to get 52 points on that dive. It's very close to her average, or her maximum score, I'm sorry, a little bit more than her normal average.
And Haley Casper from Arizona State, back 1 1/2 somersault with a half twist.
She seemed to initiate that twist just a little bit earlier than some of the others we saw, so it tends to move off to the side of the board a little bit. She's got 36.75 points. Judges' scores are 6s that she keeps on that.
And Hannah Prigg, final dive from Fresno State, back 1 1/2 somersault, 1 1/2 twist free.
Hannah's doing, just did the back 1.5, 1.5. Her average score on that dive has been in the 40s. We're waiting on the scoreboard to show us what they came up with here. Judge 4 is having difficulty. 32.5 points. Kept 4 and 5s on that dive.
Final dive from Maggie Kiefer, double twisting 1 1/2. Big dive. Wow, that was great.
She stood that dive up very nice. She came into the round in 6th place, and that's definitely going to help her. It shouldn't hurt her anyway. Beautiful twisting position, squares up over the top. She's going to go sevens and 7.5, 55.9 points on the dive.
Teammate Sarah McCready going to do a 1.5 somersaults pike for her final dive.
Got her head down just a little bit, pushed that dive a little bit further away from the board than she might have liked, kind of over to the right. She's going to keep 6.5 for the judges, 46.8 points.
Here's Shelly doing back 1 somersault, 2.5 twists. Pretty high degree of difficulty, 2.7. It's going to be a feet first entry.
Feet first entry dives can score you a lot of points as
They
long
can.
as you can get them straight up and down. It doesn't give you a whole lot of room to correct things on the entries, though.
That's right.
She's got that dive going up in the air, twist very nicely. A little bit off crooked as she's going into the water. She's going to go judges awards of 5 is what she'll keep, 40.5.
Kelly Hendricks had herself a nice little meet, Eastern Michigan, back 1.5 somersault pike.
Wow, that was a very nicely executed dive. She just stood it up, almost effortless, brought the legs up into a nice tight pike, pressed out, look back. Judges liked it as well. We're seeing high of 8.5, low of 7.5, 57.5.
Moved her into 5th place with some divers remaining. Amy, final dive from IU, is going to be doing back 1.5 with 1.5 twists.
Amy let her heels drop just a little bit on that dive, but I like the way that she attacked the takeoff. Got a nice tight line on her twist, put it in the water pretty clean, a little out. She's going to keep 45 points, average 6s on that dive.
Rachel Mama from NC State is going to be doing the same dive as Amy just did.
Moved Amy up into 6th place for now. And again, we had nice patience on the board, lets the board get up underneath her and throw her into the air, makes the dive much more fluid, less difficult, squares out over the top. She's going to get 43.5 points, keeps an average of 6s from the judging panel.
And Samantha Pickens, great meet so far. Number 1.5 somersault pike. Pretty much a no stress dive for her, I'd imagine.
She and Kate Hillman competed against each other for the Spring National Championships, and this dive beat Kate by half a point. Sam's dive is nice, effortless, smooth. Judges liked it. We've got average of 8s across the board, 57.6. That's not going to hurt Sam at all.
And Danielle Halvey from Eastern Michigan. Same dive, number 1.5 somersault pike. That was pretty nice. That
Really
was
good
effortless.
job. Really good job there. Buck's done a great job with these divers.
He has.
Eastern Michigan.
He has.
I remember having a conversation with Buck. I told him that Danielle wins every warm-up. Now she's getting in a position where she can win the meets.
Win the
too.
meets.
42 points on that dive. Keeps the average of 6.5, 6.
Our LSU tire Cassie's going to be doing full twisting 1.5.
Full twist 1.5, got a little bit ahead of herself. Her shoulders are over her toes on the takeoff, so that dive traveled just a little bit more than what she probably would have liked. She's going to get 40.7 on the dive, keeping 6 to 6.5 from the judges.
Last dive for our Pac-12 conference champion, Morgan Weller. She's going to be doing back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twists.
Nice and patient on the board there. She comes into the round in 12th place, and you can see why. She lets the dive do the work for her. She goes as high as 8, keeps 7.5s, 55 points on that dive.
Logan Klein, inward 1.5 somersault pike. Logan finished 7th in this event last year.
She kind of ducked her head on the entry there. Takeoff was very nice. Good, beautiful leg line, toe point. Nice, tight pike. Not sure at this point in the game you can allow that little overage to happen and still stay up there here. 43.2 points. High of 6.5, low of 5.5.
Emma's going to be doing an inward 1.5 somersault pike. Final dive. We're halfway through the final round.
Got a little bit anxious there, I believe. Let her hips move back. She did a good job putting it in the water, though. And going to keep sevens. 50.4 on that dive.
Jenny Chang, Notre Dame, final dive reverse, 1 1/2 somersault, 1.5 twist. And with a pretty high degree of difficulty dive, 2.6.
Nice takeoff. Way to start that somersault. She's spinning, twisting, and loses her legs just a little bit at the top of the dive. Squares it out, gets in the water okay. But that leg split's going to cost her a little bit. She's 53.3, mostly sevens on the dive.
Our ACC champion, on 1 meter, Kayla Arnett, final dive. She's going to be doing back 1 1/2 somersault, 1.5 twist.
Nice and powerful diver. She got that board loaded down and weighted on it, got it up, makes the dive easier. Nice tight somersault and twist. She's going to go 50 point even on that dive. High of 7.5, low of 6.
And Rebecca St. Germain from Texas A&M, same dive. Back 1 1/2 somersault, 1.5 twist.
Kayla is in 10th place going into that last round, and Rebecca's in 5th.
And that didn't
Well executed.
hurt her
got her in
cause.
The water very cleanly. Very nice job. She's going to keep mostly sevens on that dive, 51.25.
Haley's final dive, inward 1.5 somersaults pike.
Haley's sitting in 18th place coming into this round. Needs to move up a couple places to continue diving today. She got that dive in the water good. Doesn't jump quite as high off the springboard as some of the others, but she's used to coming off that concrete surface. She went straight sevens across the board on that, 50.5.
Figueroa, reverse 1 1/2 somersault, 1.5 twist. Big dive to end with.
I think he's gone as much as 57 points on this. Oh, I'm sorry, that's still Haley that we see on the screen. Figgy's gone as 62.4 on this dive. She needs 69.7 to put her into first place.
A little tight, Kevin.
Yeah, she got a little bit back. Head went up a little early. It caused her to go over just slightly on the legs. This dive, in order to make it, you've got to be a little bit up over the board. Kind of scary for some of the people watching it. She's going to get 48.10 on that dive. Does move her currently into 4th place.
And Jody McGrody from Tennessee. Final dive is a forward 2.5 somersault pike. Wow, that was nice.
I like the way that she worked the board there. She let the diving board get up underneath her, somersaulted up into the air. Got into the water really clean. Waiting on the judges' scores now, see what they believe. And they liked it as well. She goes as high as an 8.5, low as a 7. She keeps 58.5 points. Mostly sevens is what she kept on that dive.
And Perry Blank, final dive, back 1 1/2 somersault, 1.5 twist.
This dive finishes a little bit lower, so she squares out. She doesn't quite get her feet up and down as quickly as some of the other divers we've seen. She's going to go 5.5 fives on this dive, low of 4.5, 38.75 points.
Kate Hillman, final dive, back 1 1/2 somersault, 1.5 twist.
Kate was in 15th position going into this round.
Fairly high degree of difficulty, 2.5.
Yeah, she's best score on this dive currently has been 55 points. Stood that up very well. A little bit short on the somersault, I believe, from this angle. Waiting on the board. She's going to keep sixes on that dive, 45 points.
We got a back 1 somersault, 2.5 twists. Seen one of those before. Amy Harrison from Hawaii.
Amy kind of cuts off her jump there. and as a result, she ends up whipping the somersault a little bit. She's going to keep fives and sixes on that dive, 44.55, and that's where the degree of difficulty comes into play. We've seen higher judges' scores result in a lower net total.
And Nicole Scott, back 1.5 twists from Rutgers.
I believe she starts out that dive a little bit early with her head. Her arms are a little bit wide, so she keep her head in check and a little high neutral. She can get the dive up over the top a little better. She's going to get 33.75, high of 5, low of 4.
Got a Boilermaker up on the board. Casey Matthews, inward 1.5 somersault pike.
Very nicely done job on that inward 1.5. Jumped it up very high, nice and controlled. Checked out way above the board. She's going to go high of 8.5, low of 7.5, 56.4 points.
Tighten up, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not going to hurt her cause at all.
McCall's final dive, double twisting 1.5.
Had a slight over twist to it. I'm not sure if the judges will see it from their angle. We see it from ours. She's going to get 6.5 high, 5 low, 45.5 points on that dive.
Michaela Butler, back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twists, 2.5 degree difficulty.
Very cleanly executed.
That was a great last dive.
Waiting on the judges' results. We've got high of 7.5, low of 5.5, total of 50 points.
And Michelle Cavasol from Purdue, final dive, inward 1.5 somersault pike.
Michelle's inward 1.5 went just a little bit further back. She kind of pushed down and into the board a little more than she might have wanted. She's going to keep 50.4 points, averaging 7s on that dive.
5 more divers in this round. Lindsay Lester, back 1.5 somersault pike.
It's like how effortless they make
That was
these
great.
connections and come out sequences. Jump very high up into the air. Look back. It looked like she's been doing this for years, which I'm sure she has been. 7.5s across the board. All the judges agree on that score.
And Kaylee Rolfe, Cal Berkeley, same dive, back 1.5 somersault pike for her final dive.
This one didn't jump quite as high, and it fell back, and this is where doing them back-to-back is not necessarily beneficial to you.
Right.
But she did a very good job on that dive. Got it in the water clean. Judges now can compare the distance and the height between the two dives. And we see it reflected in the scores. She's low of 6, high of 7, 44.85.
We got Kelsey Goodman, Florida State, inward 1.5 somersault pike. Nice dive to end up with. Oh.
And her knees buckled on that press. That's not what she wanted to do on her final dive.
Thirty-ninth diver coming up, Carrie Draglin. Doing back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist.
Currently in 7th place coming into this round. She needs 80.5 points to take over the lead, but not that much to stay in 7th.
Okay. What do you think?
I like the dive, well executed. Left it lined up just slightly short, 6.5, 47.5 points. Right there where she's typically at on that dive.
Final diver of prelims, Kara McCormick, University of Miami. Inward 1.5 somersault pike.
Very nice. Inward 1.5 pike. Stood it up over the board. Got into the water very clean. She was in 20th position going into the round. She's got a high of 8, low of 7, 54 points on the dive. Very close to what her best score ever on that dive is.
Now they're going to calculate the scores, make sure the scores are all correct, and determine who's going to dive tonight. Final 8. It's a great competition, Kevin.
It's very, very good competition here. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's fun to be here at the natatorium.
It is.
Some of the top springboard divers that we have in the country.
We've had 5 Olympic trials here. See the names on the wall.
Names on the wall, the championship banners up on the...
Mark Lindsay.
Yeah, Mark Lindsay and Greg Louganis.
Greg Louganis.
Hanging up over the diving well. For those of you watching on dive meets, you see the unofficial results. We're waiting for the official results to be announced. The unofficial results right now are showing Samantha Pickens as our current leader, Victoria Lamp, Margaret Kiefer, Figgy, got Rebecca St. Germain, and Michaela Butler. Jody how do you pronounce this name? I've been doing it all day, and I can't hear
McGrorty. And then Marin
Taylor is finishing up the top 8. Cheyenne Cosino is on 9th from Ohio State.
Well, 3 points back.
In fact, we're looking at between the 8th place and 16th place, we're only looking at about 12 points separating the finals to the bottom of the consolation finals. We'll have the consolation finals here shortly, and then this afternoon I believe that we'll be going into the championship finals.
They're announcing the final results right now. It looks like the results on divemeets.com are the same as what they're reading. So it looks like the last qualifier for tonight, Marin Taylor, Jody McGrurty, Michaela Butler, Rebecca St. Germain, Lauren Figgy Figueroa, Maggie Kiefer, Tori Lamp, and your winner of prelims, Samantha Pickens. Good showing by a lot of our Indiana born and bred divers today.
Yes, quite a few of them have been here before. Margaret Kiefer, I believe, competed here at the IHSA Championships. Kate Hillman and Amy Kozad both were competitors at the IHSA Championships right here on these same boards.
Tonight will be the final 8. They'll do their list again, and we'll determine a winner. And tomorrow we'll move to the 3-meter board. It gets more exciting the higher they go.
Because I'm really looking forward to Saturday myself.
I'm really looking forward to Saturday, too.